Hello students, in the previous videos we have discussed methods of obtaining initial feasible solution in case of a transportation problem. Among those methods, first one was northwest corner method. So northwest corner method is a direction oriented method, wherein the second method, that is least cost method, concentrates on the cell which has the least cost. That means this method concentrates on the cost factor rather than direction, unlike northwest corner method. And the third method of obtaining initial feasible solution is Vogels Approximation method. It is also called as penalty cost method. So this is also called as penalty cost method, and it gives an initial solution that is nearer to an optimal solution. This method considers opportunity cost as the base for allocation. Now let us solve one transportation problem based on Vogel's approximation method. See, I have taken the similar problem that I have taken to explain the previous two methods, northwest corner method and least cost method. And the same problem is being taken here in order to explain Vogel's approximation method. So, 4 destinations, 3 plants along with the demand requirement and supply capacity. So, as usual, comparing the supply units with the demand requirements. So, D is equals to S. So this is a balanced transportation problem. Now the first step while solving Vogel's approximation method is that we need to identify the difference. So when we are identifying the difference in case of rows, that is called as row penalty, and we are identifying the difference in the column cells, that is column penalty. Now first, in case of row penalty, which is our first row, plant 1. So plant 1 is the first row, 2, 3, 11, 7 are the costs. Now in order to identify row penalty, that is the difference in the first row, we need to compare the least cost along with the next least cost. Here the least cost is 2 and the next least is 3, and here 11 and 7 are much greater than 2 and 3. So the least cost is 2 and next least cost is 3. Now what is the difference between 2 and 3? It is 1. So this way we have to identify the penalty. And coming to the next row, that is P2, which is the least cost, it is 0. When compare 1, 0, 6, 1, which is the least among the given costs, 0, and which is the next least, it is 1. So now identify the difference between the least cost and the next least cost. So 1 minus 0, 1. And now coming to the next plant, next row, which is the least cost among the given cost, 5, and the next least is 8. So 5 and 8 difference is 3. So in this way we are going to identify the row penalty. And now coming to the column penalty, first compare D1 column, given cost are 2, 1, 5, which is the least among the given cost, 1. 1 is the least and next least amount is 2. Now what is the difference between 1 and 2? It is 1. And moving to the next column, D2, so we have 3, 0, 8, which is the least cost, 0, and next least is 3. So what is the difference? 3 minus 0, 3. And moving to the next column, which is the least among the 3, 11, 6 and 15, the least cost is 6 and the next least is 11. So 11 and 6 difference will be 5. And next column D4, which is the least cost, 1, and the next least is 7. So difference is 6. So in this way we are going to identify the difference, that is penalty in case of different rows and in case of different columns. So this is the first step in case of Vogels approximation method. And the next step is, after identifying the differences or after identifying the penalties, among the identified penalties we have to select the penalty which has the highest value. So among the penalties 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 6, which is the highest? 6. 6 is the highest value. So we have to select the highest penalty, that is 6. Now the highest penalty is in the column, that is D4. Now we are concerned with this column. Now parallel to the highest amount we have D4 column. Now in the D4 column we have to select the cell which has the least cost. So here among 7, 1 and 9, 1 has the least cost. So first we need to allocate to this cell. Now compare the supply and demand. Supply is 1 and demand is 2. So I can supply 1 unit. So supply becomes 0 and here demand will reduce to 1 unit. So as supply has become 0 for plant 2, I cannot allocate further to plant 2. Yes, and the next procedure again is to identify penalty. Now the same thing for first row, which is the least amount 2 and the next least is 3. Difference between 2 and 3, 1, and this row there is no penalty because we have crossed out the row. And next in case of P3, least is 5 and next least cost is 8. So difference is 3. And as usual, a column penalty, compare D1 column. Here we are not supposed to take 1 because it is already crossed out. So compare 2, least is 2 and next least is 5, difference is 3. And for D2, among 3 and 8 we are not taking 0 because it is crossed out. So 3 and 8, which is the least, 3 and next least is 8, so difference is 5. And next 11 is the least and next least is 15, so difference is 4. And least value is 7 and next least is 9, so difference is 2. So after identifying the differences, which is our next step, we have to find out the highest penalty. Now look into the penalty of row 1 and 3, penalty of column 3, 5, 4, 2, which is the highest? 5 is the highest. So this is relating to column penalty. Now look into the opposite column, that is D2. We have to allocate for D2. So here we have two cells, one is 3 and one is 8, for which we have to allocate which has the least cost. So here we are going to allocate first. So supply is 6 units, demand is 5 units. I can allocate 5 units wherein demand becomes 0 and supply 1. Yes, and demand has become 0 for D2, so I cannot allocate here. So I am crossing off the cell. And the process continues. Again, find out the penalty. Now we are concerned only with 2, 11 and 7 because here we have allocated already. Now which is the least cost? 2 and the next least value is 7. So difference between 2 and 7 is 5 and this is nil because it is already allocated and crossed off. And here 5, 15, 9, which is the least value? 5 and the next least value is 9. So difference between 5 and 9 is 4. And coming to column penalty, so only two values are remaining here, 2 and the next least is 5, difference is 3. Here no values are remaining, so it is nil, penalty is nil, and here 11 and 15, difference is 4, 7 and 9, what is the difference? 2. Now what is the next step now? I have identified the penalties and identify the highest amount in the penalties. Which is highest? 3, 4, 2, 5 and 4. So here 5 is the highest number. So this is in case of row. So I need to check the parallel row. So among this, for which I have to allocate first for the value which is having the least. So now I'll allocate to this cell. What is the supply? 1 and demand is 7. I can allocate 1 unit. So here supply becomes 0. As supply has become 0, I cannot allocate further. And among 7 units, I have allocated 1 unit and demand will become 6 units. And next, the same procedure. Here, identify penalty. So here cells have been allocated and crossed off, so there is no penalty. Even this, there is no penalty. And in this row, which is the least, 5, and next least is 9, so difference is 4. And next one, here we have only 1. Yes, is it? We have only 1, 5. So 5, here nil, 15, 9. Which is the highest? 15. So I am allocating for this. So what is the supply? 10, demand is 3. So I am allocating 3 units, demand becomes 0, supply will be 7. Yes, and here only 2 cells are remaining, 5 and 9, which is the least among the cells? 5. So I am going to allocate for this. So 6 units of demand, 7 units of supply. So I can allocate 6 units. So demand becomes 0. And from 7 units, 6 units are allocated. So remaining units of supply is 1. So at last we have 1 cell remaining for which demand is 1 unit and supply is 1 unit. So I am allocating 1. It will be reduced to 0. So in this way we are going to allocate the units under Vogels approximation method. First, we need to identify row penalty and column penalty. How to identify row penalty and column penalty? In case of row penalty, we need to compare one row and we have to take the least cost and the next least cost and write their difference. After identifying the difference, we have to identify the highest penalty, and opposite to that column or row, we need to allocate the units for the cell which is having the least cost. Now let us identify the total cost in case of Vogels approximation method. Now 1 unit of 2 rupees each, 5 units of 3 rupees each, and here they are crossed off, even here and here, 1 unit of 1 rupee each, and next 6 units of 5 rupees each, and next 3 units of 15 rupees each, and 1 unit of 9 rupees each. So how much will be the total cost? 2 plus 15 plus 1 plus 30 plus 45 plus 9. So that is equal to rupees. So the total cost is equals to 1 or 2 rupees. So in this way we are going to solve the problems on the basis of Vogels approximation method.